Well, my pleasure to be joined by Danny Briere, and man, unbelievable playoff career, unbelievable regular season career, and here you are, your first GM's meetings. I got to think that your head is absolutely spinning right now.
Hey, it is. I'm trying to figure a way to get my bearings back. Everything happened so quick the last few days, but it's exciting. I lost a good man in Chuck Fletcher, so it's a little bittersweet there. He was tremendous human being, one of the best in hockey. So that's always tough, but at the same time, it's the business of hockey, and I'm really ecstatic and excited about the future and what we can do with the Flyers. So we'll see where it takes us.
It's been a long time since you were a rookie, and then you show up here, and you were joking just during your press availability. You didn't even know there was a GM's meetings. The next thing you know, you're booking a flight down here.
That's right. It came extremely quick. I thought, okay, I'll have plenty of time to do, and reach out to people that were contacting me, congratulating me, and all of a sudden, no, you got to go to Florida for the GM meeting. So it happened all quick, but I kind of like the timing of it because I have the chance to meet the other 31 GMs around the league, and I don't have to make calls one by one. I get to see them face to face, shake their hands, and get to know them, start building relationships with these guys.
Julian Brisebois was saying that when he first became a GM, that when he was named in Tampa, that it was unbelievable, like within 24 hours, how everybody reached out to him. And David Poile said in 1982 he goes to his first GM's meetings and nobody even said a word to him. He's like, that it was that type of thing. It's a little different now. I mean, you were welcomed right away by Coley Campbell and all that.
Right away. I was really amazed by how willing everybody is to help you out. The GM, the staff at the NHL level, and most of the comments I was hearing from those guys were, we're all competitive. We all want to win as much as the next guy, but other than that, we want to help each other out. There's only 32 of those jobs in the world, and we, it's a select club, and we want to help each other out. So if you have anything, any questions, don't be afraid to reach out. So that's kind of been the message from many GMs. So that was really cool to see walking in.
Is it cool when you walk in there too and you see a couple former teammates of yours? Yeah. You got Drury running the Rangers. You got Mike Briere ending his first year in San Jose.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one. It shows you that it's not the same old GMs every single year in the National Hockey League, but
and a lot of guys, a lot of guys that I played against too. The Rob Blake, the Kevin Adams, the Bill Guerin. I could keep going on. So it's really cool that way. The guys, it's funny. I was a little nervous coming in first meetings. I didn't know what the process was and how everything works, but at the same time, I was not intimidated. I knew a lot of those guys, and they're all great guys. So it's mostly exciting and a little nervous when I walked in.
What is it about you that even as a player you never were intimidated? I mean, you were such an exciting player to watch, but the second that switch turned to April 15th, I mean, you became just almost, as somebody said on Twitter, superhuman.
I don't know. I don't really know exactly how to explain it. It's always the best time of the year. Even to this day, April comes around and it's my favorite time of the year. I love playoff hockey. I have different reasons here that I think why it happened that way. But if I knew exactly why, I'd be jumping on that. I'm not too sure, but I have always loved the big moments. And I'm not the only one. I know of a certain Chris Drury who's kind of that way too. So yeah, right. I learned a lot from him as well with our playing days together in Buffalo.
It's amazing, actually, how many incredible hockey players are in that room. It's pretty cool to see. So you become the interim GM. I mean, what is the plan now? Because like watching your press conference the other day, and even just talking to you today, you don't come off as somebody that is what we would think is an interim. I mean, it feels like the job is going to be yours, and you're going in there with a plan to really, turn the Flyers around.
Well, that's the plan. That's what I'm going with. I have a feeling that they trust me. And I think the interim tag is the right thing to do at the moment. Go through the process and make sure they make the right decision. Gives them the chance to look around, and evaluate everything in the organization. So I'm all for it. I think it's the right thing to do. So I don't have a problem with it. But at the same time, I got to prepare. In the meantime, there's the word interim there, but there's also the word GM, and I got to move forward and deal with my staff and make sure there's some guidance there in what needs to be done next.
So when you're a very busy man, you have a wife, 4 kids. Like when you are at home and now you're putting together your to-do list, how do you even prioritize what now is next?
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
I was just texting my wife earlier today about, I have to find a way to get better at time management. That's going to be probably the most important part moving forward. But I think it's a little crazy at the moment just because of it just happens so soon, and everybody's reaching out. We talked about that earlier, how Julian said that it was crazy. I mean, I had some big moments as far as players winning some big playoff rounds, playing the Stanley Cup final, scoring some big goals. My retirement, some of the trades that I've been through. I never got as much attention, from everybody around me, receiving notes and messages and, of support. So it's been absolutely crazy, the amount of response that I've received. So I'm trying to catch up on that, 4 days later. And, usually I'm always someone that gets back to everybody. It was so busy at one point, my phone crashed. There's so many texts that I've lost some texts. So again, if someone hears that and I haven't reached out, it's not that I didn't want to. It's just I lost the text, so I apologize for that. But it's been overwhelming in a good way to see the response from everyone.
And yet you found time to play pickleball yesterday with Julien Brisebois and Jarmo Kekalainen and George Paris, your old Anaheim teammate.
My Montreal Canadiens line mate. So it was pretty cool. It was awesome for these guys to invite me. I was just a rookie trying to keep up with them. They're impressive players, but it was a great afternoon, and it's a way to start creating relationships with those guys.
I don't know how I said Anaheim there. I was just having Anaheim on my mind after just talking to him. Yesterday at the press conference, or a couple days ago at the press conference, you made it, I know everything's a semantics game, aggressive retool, rebuild, stuff like that, but you weren't shy in saying that this is not going to be a quick fix, and that this is going to be a quasi rebuild. One, do you think Flyers fans are going to be patient for that? And but really, is there any choice right now with the way that the Flyers are currently orchestrated?
I think the fans will understand. I think our fans are too smart. They've realized that for so many years now we've been kind of stuck in the middle of nowhere as far as standing, almost making the playoffs, sometimes getting in, sometimes not. My goal is to build a strong team that aspires to win the Stanley Cup, not just for a year or two here and there, but for many years to come. And that's my plan. I think the fans, obviously I'll need a little bit of their patience, in the next couple years. It might be a tough going, but I also believe if they know the plan and we're honest with them, that they'll understand. We have some good young players, and they'll probably be kind of the place we start focusing on moving forward. And I think people will accept that. And it's not going to be easy, like I said, but I think they'll jump on board.
And you made it very clear that you don't anticipate a fire sale, that you have a set. Maybe I don't know if you voiced who the core would be, but that you have a core.
Not yet.
Group.
I haven't used names. I don't like using names, singling out good or bad players that way. Hockey's such a great team game. Try to keep it that way as much as possible. But there are, and I don't believe rebuilding doesn't mean fire sale. I mean, there's going to be some movement most likely, but it's too early to tell to which degree.
How have you? I know that you've obviously been around and all that. Have you been meeting with John Tortorella throughout the process, and then since obviously became GM? Have you had that chance to sit down with him and talk about the team?
I was part of the interview process last summer. John was my choice as well, my number one choice. So I was really excited about that he accepted the challenge. I have a great relationship with John. I had him as an assistant coach when I started in the league in Phoenix. So it's pretty cool how things, come back around 23, 24 years later. So I have a great relationship with John. We've had the chance to sit down since I was nominated once for a lengthy discussion, and I plan to doing that more often with him too. I think, I know the players, I know the staff, but I want to sit down with him and get to know deeper what he thinks of our players, where he thinks we're headed with them, and that's going to be the kind of the focus in the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season.
Your path to get here, it is fascinating. I mean, you started in the ECHL with the Maine Mariners, and you went there also to run the business too, right? I mean,
correct.
Yeah. So was that a conscious decision to try to get to this point?
My biggest thing, hockey is my passion. So I knew I wanted to be in hockey. I didn't know this door opened up. I was invited to kind of get involved on the business side, and then Comcast Spectacor bought this ECHL franchise from Alaska and moved them to Portland, Maine. They offered me the job as president. Now, the scary part is it was mostly on the business side that I had to figure things out to start, especially because it was completely new. We didn't have a name, we didn't have a logo, we didn't have colors, we didn't have fans, we didn't have players. So early on, the focus was on the business side to build the brand. It was interesting. It was a great experience. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the business side. As a player, those are things you don't really think about. When you're a player, you just show up to the rink and you think that everything's in place, and they put a couple ushers there, they open to sell food, and you're the show. But getting on the other side, I realized there's so many moving pieces and so many people needed. So it was an eye-opener for me. So I learned a lot there. But then I also got to be involved on the hockey team and building a hockey team and finding some good hockey people to help me. And then graduating to, player development and getting more involved on the Flyers and slowly making my way. One of the things that was important for me was, I had heard so many executives say, ex-hockey players, most of them are not willing to put in the work to get to, where they want to get. And I wanted to show everybody that I wasn't afraid. I was willing to work. I love hockey, and I was willing to put in the work. I didn't know where it was going to take me. It's not like I had a goal in mind that I was going to be a GM one day. It was more about, look, I love hockey. I'm going to get involved. I want to put the time in. And I loved it. I loved what I was doing. So it wasn't a chore. It wasn't a job. I was just having fun the last few years, and kind of took me to this spot today.
That's amazing. And you have a lot of respect for the ECHL. I remember. Obviously you were an international star, but AHL star. You're old enough. You played one game in the IHL.
That's right.
But what was that ECHL like?
I was. When I was first offered the job, I was a little worried. I remember the ECHL from the late 90s. I had heard horror stories, and it scared me a little bit at first. But then, I started getting involved, and I realized how well run it was. Now, there's so many people put on a lot of work, and they're in really good hands now with Ryan Creelan as the commissioner. So it was fun. It was a blast. I learned a lot. And I know people roll their eyes saying, what's Danny Briere doing, going back to the ECHL, but it was great for me personally, and I'm very, very thankful of all the teams, executives, and people at the league offices kind of training me early on, because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, and every new GM that I ever talk to, they're always amazed at, when you become a GM, you think, all right, I'm going to trade players, I'm going to scout, I'm going to put the team together. You don't realize how many business calls you have in a day. Bill Guerin, half his day is just being on meetings, in Minnesota. So
that's what I'm realizing right now.
Yeah.
Like just the last few days, how many phone calls and meetings are in place. Time management and people management is, I think something that I believe I can do really well, and I'm going to try to use that to be successful.
When you look at the Flyers right now with player development, is that something that you feel like is at a perfect spot, or is that something that does need to improve right now in Philly?
Well, it's going to be a key. That's something we'll need to evaluate. It's going to be key for us moving forward. because when you're rebuilding, obviously the young guys are the priority. So it's definitely going to be a crucial part of what we do the next few years.
Analytics is a question that Jason wanted to know. What your vision with analytics? How into it are you? How is that something that right now that you feel like is a strength in the Flyer organization?
I do believe that it's extremely important, but also be honest that I'm not an expert. We have the right people, some good people in place that are going to help me. I had the chance to dive into it this year. We did a project with Travis Konechny that's out there. A little bit, not exactly what we did, but people are aware that we did. But I work with the analytics group on our team, and it was amazing. I basically, I said I see some things with my eyes. Can the numbers back it up? And and it was eye-opening again for me to work with these people and to see what the numbers can tell you. So I plan on using them a lot and including them in the future of the Flyers.
I got a couple funny questions from Flyers fans saying, "Are you sure you can handle a second stint with them, with the Flyers fans having a now you dealt with it as a player and obviously Philly's a tough market." You know what?
As a player, what I had to go through was awesome. The best response I can give them is that I loved playing in front of fans that cared about what I did. They would let you know, and they would push you to get better and push the limit every single night, and that's what I really appreciated from them. So I expect the same thing, in the new role that I am. They're going to let me know if it's not good enough, but they're passionate, they're knowledgeable, they know what they're talking about. So I don't have a problem. Again, I'm excited that they care about what I'm doing. So to me, I'd rather have it that way than doing a job for people that didn't even care or didn't matter what I did. So that's my approach to it. I love that they're passionate about their team just as much as I am. I've bled orange for a long time, and I'm really proud of that team, that logo, and the city.
That's awesome. And just lastly, what is next, Danny? Like, how do you, like you were talking about, just yesterday you were saying, I'm just trying to get my bearings. How do you, what is the next step in evaluating this team and maybe supplementing your staff? Yeah. It's going to be a while before you can make a trade.
So I can't, can't make very many changes as far as the product on the ice from here till probably near the draft. So that on that front, it's probably going to be quiet a little bit. Now it's more getting to know a little better our staff, spending time with them, kind of put some parameters in place of the new guidance and the structure that we're going to have. That's probably, I would say, what's going to be the focus moving forward in the next, couple months.
Yeah. By the way, somebody asked, what's your favorite cheesesteak place in Philly? Do you want to throw that out, or you want to be diplomatic?
I live around the corner from Jim's, so I'd probably have to go with that.
Well, hey, congratulations, Daniel. I mean, it really is just awesome. You're such an incredible player for all of us to watch
Thank you
and
so
to
much.
Cover. So I think we're all really excited to see how this goes in Philly, and it's just got to be. I got to think that you're trying to get your head wrapped around everything right now, but it's got to be exciting as well. It's got to be honored. One of 32 GMs in that room.
Exactly. It's a great honor, and it's exciting. I can't wait really to get back to Philly and get going.